Hello, and welcome to Day by Day True Crime Stories, the podcast where we explore a different crime or justice milestone from this day in history. I'm your host, Kona Gallagher, and today is February 23rd. On this day in 2020, 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery's life was taken in the Satilla Shores neighborhood of Brunswick, Georgia. Ahmaud's death wasn't just a tragedy for his family. It became a catalyst for a national reckoning on racial violence and justice in America. In this episode, we'll explore who Ahmaud was, the events that led to his death, the legal battles that followed, and the impact that his story has had across the country. Let's get started. Ahmaud Marquez Arbery, affectionately known as Maud or Kez to his loved ones, was born on May 8, 1994 in Brunswick, Georgia. He grew up surrounded by family and friends who remember him as kind, determined, and full of energy. He was a talented athlete who played linebacker at Brunswick High School, where his speed and skill made him a standout on the football field. After high school, Ahmaud attended South Georgia Technical College, hoping to become an electrician. To support himself, he worked with his father at the family's car wash and landscaping business. Whether he was helping a neighbor with yard work or cracking jokes with his siblings, Ahmaud's warmth and generosity left an impression on everyone who knew him. One of Ahmaud's favorite pastimes was running. For him, jogging through the neighborhoods of Brunswick wasn't just exercise. It was a way for him to clear his mind and to feel connected to the world around him. But what should have just been a routine jog on a sunny afternoon would ultimately end in a senseless tragedy. February 23, 2020 was a clear Sunday afternoon. Ahmaud laced up his running shoes and headed out for a jog through Satilla Shores, a quiet residential neighborhood a few miles from his home. Now, this wasn't unusual. Ahmaud often ran through the area and was familiar to many locals. But that day, as Ahmaud jogged down the street, Gregory McMichael, a former police officer and investigator, noticed him passing by. Suspicious of recent break-ins in the neighborhood, McMichael called his son, Travis McMichael, and the two men armed themselves with a shotgun and a handgun. Jumping into their white pickup truck, they began pursuing Ahmaud through the neighborhood. Meanwhile, their neighbor, William Roddy Bryan, saw the commotion and decided to join the chase in his own vehicle. As the trucks closed in, Roddy Bryan began filming the encounter with his cell phone, a video that would later become a key piece of evidence in this case. Ahmaud, unarmed and alone, tried to escape, but the men blocked his path again and again. Eventually, Travis McMichael confronted Ahmaud with his shotgun. A struggle ensued as Ahmaud desperately tried to defend himself. Travis fired 3 shots, and within seconds, Ahmaud collapsed to the ground. His life was over in an instant. When police arrived at the scene, Gregory McMichael was still holding his gun. He then claimed that he and his son had acted in self-defense while attempting to make a citizen's arrest. Despite the fact that an unarmed black man who had just been out for a jog was lying dead on the ground, no arrests were made that day. For weeks, the case remained in limbo. Gregory McMichael's long-standing ties to local law enforcement, having worked with both the Glenn County Police Department and the Brunswick Judicial Circuit District Attorney's Office, very much complicated matters. District Attorney Jackie Johnson quickly recused herself due to her professional relationship with McMichael. The case was then passed to George Barnhill, a prosecutor from a neighboring district, who also ended up stepping down after it was revealed that his son had previously worked with Gregory McMichael on a case involving Ahmaud. As time passed without charges, Ahmaud's family grew increasingly frustrated, as you can imagine. His mother, Wanda Cooper Jones, refused to let her son's death be ignored and reached out to anyone who would listen and demanded accountability. But it wasn't until May 5th, 2020, that the case captured national attention when the video of Ahmaud's final moments was leaked online. The footage spread rapidly, sparking outrage and protests across the country. Under mounting pressure, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, the GBI, stepped in. Just 2 days later, on May 7th, both Gregory and Travis McMichael were arrested and charged with murder and aggravated assault. 2 weeks after that, William Roddy Bryan was taken into custody as well and faced charges of felony murder and false imprisonment. In November 2021, the state trial began in Glynn County Superior Court. Prosecutors argued that McMichaels and Bryan had no legitimate reason to chase Ahmaud and that their actions were fueled by racial bias and unfounded suspicion. The defense, however, claimed that the men were attempting a lawful citizen's arrest and acted in self-defense when Ahmaud tried to fight back. The jury deliberated for 12 hours over the course of 2 days. And then on November 24th, 2021, the verdict was announced. Travis McMichael was found guilty on all charges, including malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, and false imprisonment. Gregory McMichael was found guilty of federal murder and other charges, but was acquitted of malice murder. William Roddy Bryan was found guilty of felony murder, aggravated assault, and false imprisonment. The convictions carried mandatory life sentences. On January 7th, 2022, Judge Timothy Walmsley sentenced Travis and Gregory McMichael to life without the possibility of parole, plus an additional 20 years. Bryan received a life sentence with the possibility of parole after 30 years. But the legal battle wasn't over yet. In addition to the state charges, all three men faced federal charges for hate crimes and attempted kidnapping. Prosecutors presented evidence of racist text messages and social media posts, arguing that the men targeted Ahmaud because of his race. On February 22nd, 2022, the jury found all three men guilty of interference with rights, a federal hate crime, for using force and threats to intimidate and interfere with Ahmaud's right to use a public street because of his race, and attempted kidnapping. Additionally, Travis and Gregory McMichael were found guilty of using firearms during a crime of violence. The three men were sentenced for their federal crimes on August 8th, 2022. Travis McMichael received life plus 10 years in prison. Gregory McMichael received life plus 7 years in prison. And William Roddy Bryan received 35 years in prison. Though these federal sentences would run concurrently with their state prison terms, the convictions made it crystal clear that race was a large factor behind Ahmaud's murder. The handling of Ahmaud's case by local authorities drew significant scrutiny, particularly focusing on former district attorney Jackie Johnson. Allegations surfaced that Johnson used her position to shield the McMichaels from immediate arrest and prosecution. In September 2021, a Glynn County grand jury indicted Johnson on charges of violating her oath of office and obstructing law enforcement. The indictment alleged that Johnson showed favoritism toward Gregory McMichael, a former investigator in her office, by instructing police officers not to arrest Travis McMichael immediately after the shooting. Johnson denied these allegations and stated that she promptly recused herself from the case due to her professional ties with Gregory McMichael. Her trial began in January 2025. During the proceedings, Glynn County Assistant Police Chief Stephanie Oliver testified that Johnson did not obstruct her efforts in the investigation. Johnson also took the stand denying any misuse of her power to protect the McMichaels. She claimed she was unaware of the true details of the incident until the video surfaced online. On February 5th, 2025, the presiding judge dismissed all charges against Johnson, citing insufficient evidence to support the allegations. This ruling ended the trial before it reached the jury. Ahmaud Arbery's death became a defining moment in the fight against racial injustice. His name joined those of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and others whose death ignited a movement for racial equity and police accountability. Protests erupted nationwide, with people demanding not only justice for Ahmaud, but systemic changes to address the broader issue of racism and violence in America. In the wake of the trial, Georgia repealed its citizen's arrest law, the very statute that the defense had used in an attempt to justify the McMichaels' actions. The state also passed new hate crime legislation allowing for harsher penalties when crimes are motivated by race, gender, or sexual orientation. But perhaps the most enduring impact is the legacy of Ahmaud's family, especially his mother, Wanda Cooper Jones, whose unwavering determination ensured that her son's story would be heard. Through her advocacy, she not only secured justice for Ahmaud, but helped spark a broader conversation about racial profiling and vigilantism. February 23, 2022 marked the 2-year anniversary of Ahmaud's death and was the day after his killers were convicted on federal hate crime charges. It was also the date that Ahmaud Arbery Day was officially recognized by the state of Georgia, ensuring that Ahmaud's legacy will remain. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of Day by Day True Crime Stories. If you found this story compelling, please subscribe, rate, and review our podcast. And be sure to join me again tomorrow as we explore another significant event in true crime history. Until then, stay safe and remember that behind every headline is a life worth remembering. Day by Day True Crime Stories is a Little Monster production.
Hey, you can do it!